Well, here we are, boys and girls. Turin Giants podcast. We are back with the episode number 309. Here I am. My name is Farhad. I'm the host that loves you most. We have a packed time. We
Did
have
you
a
see
packed-
Damiano's face, Farhad? you put
We're
him on. He's like, what the hell are you doing?
We're starting strong as always. My name is Farhad. I am host of the Turin Giants podcast, and I love you all. This is our season number 14, boys and girls. We will be talking about the upcoming season, 2025-26. We've got Zach, Frederick, Damiano, Jack, and Rav coming back with a bang. What's up, boys?
Hey, everybody.
I think we should do the intro without further ado. Let's go. And we can still officially play this drop.
Buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno.
I have to ask Farhad, even if he stays, are you still going to use that throughout the season?
Of course. That's gold. Are you kidding me?
All right. I just was wondering if we could come up with a new one.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of
informed player instead.
I'm a fan of doing things so dumb that they become funny after a while. So yeah, Buongiorno is sticking with us. Boys and girls, like I said, brand new episode, brand new season. We will go through the crew here and find out about your predictions and expectations for the new season. This will be a long one, kids. It's so good to be back. We'll also do, a little bit of Parma talk. Obviously, a game coming up. We need to mention that. I posted a thread on Instagram, which is at Turin Giants, by the way, which got a lot of attention. I posted a question: who's the most overrated player in Juve history? A lot of interesting answers. We'll go through your opinions as well, boys. And Frederick with the transfer talk. And I'm eager to hear from Rav. It's been a while, buddy. Actually, you know what? Let me go to Rav over there. I don't know what he's doing today. The man lives a life of a vagabond. He's somewhere in the mountains. That's why the quality of the mic is like this. Rav, what's up, dude? He's back, baby.
I'm good. A little bit tired from a long day of hiking, but I'm good otherwise. Yeah.
You're hiking. You love nature, don't you?
I gotta say, I love being outdoors. I love being alone. I love being out in the mountains. That's how I roll.
My favorite Rav fact is what you like to wake up in the morning and listen to Gregorian chants out in nature. Is that right?
He takes off his shirt, revealing the chest hair.
I like to take a cold bath at sort of 5 a.m. and listen to a lot of classical or Gregorian chants. Either work for me. Yeah.
He's gonna live. He's gonna live until he's 120. He'll finally see Juventus win the Champions League.
No, I don't think so. Maybe. Who knows?
You don't think so? You're gonna see Juventus win the Champions League, or you don't think you're gonna live to 120? Which one?
It's the. You know what? It's gonna be the Champions League one because I've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
We have a plan with Rav. If you guys. For those who have been listening, we actually had a show with Rav, just two of us, which was fun. It was like 10 episodes or something. It was not long lived, but it was fun. We have a plan that no matter which city Juventus wins the Champions League in, we'll meet up that night and we will bathe in the local plaza fountain, or like the big fountain in the city.
Yeah,
and we will spray each other with champagne and other fluids. Anyways, boys. Let's Let's get to it.
Okay.
Where do you guys? Listen, man? Juventus wins the Champions League. I'm not responsible for my actions. Where do you guys want to start? Zach,
Predictions.
Let's go around the room. New coach, who this? Obviously, Tudor got us in a fortunate position in the Champions League this year. He took over, and now he's working on being the head coach for the upcoming season. Hopefully the full one. Zach, your thoughts, my friend?
Well, if Tudor finishes the season with Juventus, it'll be the first time he's completed 50 games with a team as a coach in over a decade. So his track record doesn't necessarily sit in support of him sticking around somewhere very long, which is not entirely a positive note to start on the season. But with that being said, when I take a look at Serie A in general, the transfer market, the teams around us, the coaching carousel switches, I see a window of opportunity for Juventus to at least move a little bit further towards first place than we were last year. When you look at top four, not stalwarts, but competitors at Atalanta, Gasperini leaving, Juric coming in, I think we're going to see what I would consider a predictable fall from grace from them this year. Napoli won the league with 82 points, the lowest total in over a decade, playing in 0 competitions other than Serie A. I think they crashed out in the Copa against some Serie B team as well. They brought in some rotational pieces, but you lose Lukaku for 3+ months. You're in Conte's season. It's all set to implode. And so that is perfectly situated for Juventus. Prediction: to scoot up from 4th to finish 2nd behind Inter this year.
Love it. Inter, huh?
That's
Inter brought in and is bringing a lot of rotational pieces. They finished 2nd, 1 point behind Napoli, while getting to the Champions League finals. Their depth is proven. Their quality, at least in Serie A, is established. And I think until anybody can present the level of depth that they have in their squad, it is their championship, Serie A, that is, to lose.
What about their coach? What do you guys think about Kiva, right? That's
I was going to say, I feel like at least 20 to 25% of their chances of winning the title were linked with Inzaghi, because
I agree.
He was incredible. The way that he managed to motivate the team, he had such a good understanding of how to balance his players, and for someone who is still relatively sort of inexperienced, he had such a good control of quite a sort of a dressing room full of quite big egos. And I just have this feeling that Kivu's not going to last the season. I think Zach makes some really good points. I think they have a lot of depth they're going to add to the quality that they already have. But I feel so much of it is down to how they sort of adapt to having Kivu in charge. And I don't know if he's ready.
He's got shoes to fill. Big clown shoes to fill.
Absolutely. I mean, just in terms of predictions, not to jump in, but I think Napoli are probably going to be, if they don't implode, like Zach says, I think they're the favourites. But I think 2nd place is open, and I think we should really be fighting for 2nd place. I think we have a good chance, and maybe even being in the title race as well.
Yeah, I'm going to tweak one thing you said, Rav, is we should be fighting for 1st place, but we might end up 2nd. I guess is the angle I'll take on my prediction.
Yeah.
Frederick, are you? Oh, sorry, Rav, you weren't done. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I just feel like the only other thing to add is that this, I think the last couple of seasons, a lot of other teams have kind of shown to be quite good, just for lack of like a deep insight. But just like you look at Bologna, they looked pretty decent last season. Fiorentina, if they can keep a coach and be consistent, sometimes they can kind of go on a good run of form. So I think it's going to be it's not going to be one of those seasons where the only team that we have to look out for is one of the top 4. It's going to be one of these seasons where, again, it's going to be grueling and tough, where we're going to have to really raise our game against some of the more, what we used to consider some of the more mediocre teams.
And it would be irresponsible not to mention Um, all the moves that Milan has done over the summer, while they're not in
Oh
Europe,
yes.
they brought in a lot of talent, and Gasparini making the switch to a Roma team who was the best Serie A team in the second half of last season. So there is absolutely going to be competition for those top four spots, and it should actually shape up to be a fascinating Serie A season.
It's going to be amazing. I agree. Jack, the return of Jack. We've enjoyed you last.
Yeah, as
I
a
think it
fun.
was just. I think it was just once. Welcome back, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Any thoughts on?
Well, first, nice to digitally meet both Frederick and Damiano. Listened to you guys a long time. I think I don't want to repeat things, right? I think everybody's on the right track. I do think it's a little bit of what was in front of us last year and also being mindful of what was behind us. I think everyone who finished above us in the table, everyone's mentioned Inter's potential struggles with Kivu. Napoli, we know how Conte does in the Champions League, right?
And you know how Conte does in the second season. Let's not dismiss that.
True as well. And then, behind this, the references to Gasperini. I think we don't know much about Pioli and Fiorentina until we see them play, right? Was Dzeko a good addition? What's Fagioli going to look like with a preseason with a new coach under his belt? I think he has all the tools to step up and be a top midfielder in the league. But for us, I like Zach, the way you put it, right? Fight for first. I think second is reasonable for us. My prediction for the season would be a third place finish. I think there's just going to be it's going to be a log jam at the top. I think the distance between first and fourth is going to be less than 10 points. I do see an Allegri-led Milan surprising some people, not giving up many goals. A lot of the Allegri ball, right? The 1-0 Cortomuso. And I think they're going to be in the mix in the end. So it's going to be a very hard-fought season. I think the point gaps will be narrow. And I listen, there's always the surprise. I wouldn't be surprised to see Como in the top 8, right? I think they're going to make some noise. So third place to me seems a reasonable expectation, though I'd like to see a little bit better if we can.
You'll accept being pleasantly surprised, right? Like
I
we're
would,
keeping our
yeah.
expectations low.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, I do think the team's going to grow into a little bit of one of those sides that will fight for points, right? I think we're going to be in a lot of games. I think the team's going to show a little more grinta. I think that from what I've been hearing and reading, it seems, especially Locatelli's interview the other day, seems like that's one of the priorities he has for the team is to grow the group, to show a little more of that Juventinita and grinta on the fields. And all the while acknowledging those things take time to build, right? So this is the season for him to do that. And I think that's why we are going to finish in the top 4. But it is going to be a challenge because the teams around us did improve as well.
Well said. Frederick, are you a happy camper today or a negative Nancy?
I'm stuck between two fires at this point, so I find it very difficult to make assumptions or educated guesses on the outcome of the season, just because of the fact that we still have a transfer window up and running for the next 10 days. So, you know, anything can happen at this point. But if I just look at the teams today, how they're formed today, and I think we have a good chance to win the league, to be honest, because I
Interesting.
think we exponentially got stronger defensively with the return of Bremer. Also, something worth noting is that Cabal started training with the team 2 days ago. Hasn't had any fallback or soreness or whatever, so that's another added value in my opinion. The fact that we brought in Jonathan David, who seems to be somebody who is, in my opinion, for the short amount of time that I saw him, somebody that brings more to the team in terms of possession, in terms of deepness in the field, in terms of um, scoring ability as a whole. So I think that's another advantage that we have. And I didn't see our competitors lining up what I think would have happened. I assume that Inter and Milan would be more aggressive this mercato, but they weren't. It's a bit lackluster in all departments in Serie A at this point, if I might add. Like Premier League does its thing, and we get the scraps. So in terms of that, plus the fact that Tudor had this preseason to bring a sort of a mentality shift in, which we were lacking last summer, and the fact that we now have players that are able to stay on their feet for more than 90 minutes should also help a bit more, because
What are you hearing?
Hopefully.
hopefully up until
What are you
now.
hearing about his tactics or his attitude during the training? How is team receiving him?
He's very how shall I put it? He's somebody that demands all the effort that you can put in, but he's somebody that's also very understanding. For instance, I'm not gonna name any names, but there was a player who was struggling a bit with some family issues. I'm not gonna go into it, and he brought this forward onto Tudor, and Tudor, spoke with him for about 40 minutes. And it was all said and done. He went back to training. He felt better. So I think Tudor is working on his man managing more, people managing skills than he did in the past. Because in the past, Tudor was like, "I want this. Well, you can't have it. Well, f you," and he sawed it off. I think he's more mature. He's grown a bit more, which he has to, because he's now coach of Juventus. But I feel, and I saw with my own eyes on the pitch at Dortmund, that the team is more of a team now than they were last year. And I think our the points that we lost, or at least 60% of the point we lost last season, were due to our mentality, the fears we had, the not playing the ball forward, debating, not communicating. And I feel that those glitches are a bit being ironed out as we speak. So I'm fairly positive. But
Nice.
like I said, it's 10 more days to go. The only team I think could be a real contender or an outsider, so to speak, for me is Lazio, because it's the second season now with Sarri. They've not done a lot on the mercato, but I think, bought intelligently. They
Interesting.
kept the frame they had last season, and from what I can see is that their preseason was mad in terms of preparation. Like, they're really, really ready to go. So
Mm.
I can see Lazio doing good things this season. And yeah, Allegri, like you said, I'm not going to repeat it, but
That's going to be very interesting to watch.
I feel that Inter's going to implode come November, December, and after the winter mercado, I feel February, March is the perfect time for Conte to pull a Conte move. Um, so that's what I'm hoping for, and it's also likely that it will happen. And hopefully we can take advantage of that. I mean, last season was the same. There were a lot of teams that lost a lot of points, and we weren't capable of benefiting from that because we lack mentality. We lack that certain spark that we needed in order to win games. So if that alone changes this season, I can see us competing for the top spot. Definitely.
I mean, keep in mind,
hopefully.
it was it was early spring, late winter, where we were within 6 points of first place.
We were unbeaten for like the longest time,
Well,
right?
no, I mean, even after that, we were way after that, because we lost against Napoli, in January, whatever it was. We're talking March. I can't remember exactly, but we'll say Marchish. We're talking about potentially being in the Scudetto race. We're 5 points outside.
We even convinced Freddie.
I was a believer for 24 hours.
But hold on, that was with a team without an on-field leader. So we talk about discipline and sort of that grinta that Frederic and Jack said. We didn't have an on-field leader. We didn't have Bremer, who's now back. And we had a striker who was allergic to scoring goals. So, I mean, we had only recently gotten Colomwani in, but we spent most of the season with Dusan. So, you bring in Jonathan David, having Locatelli step up like the way he did in that Dortmund game, talking to the team, talking to the ref, managing people's expectations, calming them down, hyping them up, seeing how Bremer was also doing it, seeing Bremer come back without any notable regression due to his long-term injury makes me, within the confines of, the three big holes we had last year, actually quite optimistic for our league performance if we can stay healthy. and we can finish this Mercado with some level of activity.
Damiano, we remember you, buddy. What are your
Right
thoughts?
on. Well, I thought I was going to be
First of all, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, the level of decorations that he brought in, he stepped up his decoration game. What is this? The little flag in the background, and you got yourself a plant. I love it. I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, I like the banner, but it looks a little too terroristy.
I love it, bro. We'll work on it. We'll work on your background. And I love your shirt, by the way. You look like a next gen from 2006.
Right, with the old
I know there was
logo.
No next gen then. Yes, sir. What are your expectations for you?
I thought I was going to be the odd guy out, but I think but Frederic touched on some points that I think we're going to win it. I expect us to win it, to win the league. I expect us to go far in Champions League. Realistically, I think that there's a lot of questions in Serie throughout all these other teams. You got Inter. I think their locker room might have been lost with once Inzaghi left a little bit. I think you guys touched on all the points of all these other teams in the league that have these questions. I think that what I see from Juventus going forward, though, is in these preseason games, these friendlies, and we also had the Club World Cup. I do see us moving the ball really well. I see us tactically playing well. I see us. Frederic touched on the unity, the mentality, things that were a draw 1 point last year, and we had like 13 of them. Can turn into 3 points this year. Excuse me. And I think that makes a big difference. Going forward, I think we could be the underdog surprise team of the Serie to win it all.
Well said. Who's that one player you're really looking forward to seeing? Either
Definitely
new player
Dusan.
or someone that's definitely. How dare you?
Buongiorno.
No, I mean, Jonathan David looks great. I mean, from what he brings, I mean, I liked Colomwani. I'm not getting my hopes up that he's going to come until he actually officially comes. But until then, I'm not getting the hopes up. And I just like seeing, just the gel, the unity of the team. I like the movement. I love seeing Bremer back and the way he's been, even though it's just been a couple minutes, I don't believe he played a full game exactly, but seeing him play, period, and back to somewhat of a level that he was at, like, it's good. We lacked that totally last year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Bremer playing that 80 minutes was
yeah.
Huge. He looked solid.
And he looked good.
Agreed.
Bremer's definitely someone I'm really looking forward to. Another player.
He made Kelly look good. I mean,
he did.
So
I think only Jesus could perform such a miracle. So I think we could be very happy to have Bremer back. I think as a whole.
Can you guys tell me, those in the know who worked with players and injuries, the injury that Bremer sustained, how will that affect his game, if any?
Well, I had the same one. I'm not sure if anybody else wants to take over, but I had the same one several times.
Sounds like you're a pretty good person to talk to.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like the.
I've had 11 surgeries on my knees. 7 on the right one,
Jeez.
4 on the left one. So I think I'm a bit in the know, but it's difficult to assess because it all depends on the level of your tissue. You have these sort of inner tissue scars that can develop, and it all depends. Like, I'd say after 3 or 4 months after when you're into your revalidation, if they start infecting or not. If they don't infect, like, which was the case with my first one when I tore my ACL, you're pretty solid. I mean, you can take your time. You can develop your muscle mass sooner. You won't have a lot of infections or whatever. But if you have a lot of tissue that's affected with these scars or these intravenous scars or whatever it's called,
Jeez.
then you have infection after infection. You have cartilage that comes loose. You have infection of other muscle tissue that's adjacent to the ACL and things like that. And you basically get resetted every 2 months. So you start, you work hard, you try to come back, and then you get another infection. You need to take this and that antibiotic. You need to rest for 2 weeks, and you have to start all over again with a lot of pain, with a lot of mental stress as well, because you kept you keep getting resetted back to point zero. And
Mhm.
mentally, that's very challenging, but also physically, because I had a point that I had to, literally learn how to walk again,
Mm.
which is very frustrating if you're in your mid 20s.
Does it hurt? Did
Uh,
it? Does it hurt right after it happens? Like when you're on the field? Is it? I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Achilles doesn't hurt that bad, but ACL, you're in pain, right?
It depends on if your ACL is torn fully and in what way it's torn. Because the first injury that I had was just a torn ACL. It was torn off and it wasn't that bad.
Hmm.
But my third injury was that I not only tore my ACL, but I tore everything or every muscle uh, from my knee to my ankle.
So
So that
you
was,
won't be starting for Juve anytime soon.
I hope not. So that was also my calf and a bit of my ankle and things like that. And that was hell. I think I fainted 3 or 4 times during that injury. I can't recall that much. I
Damn.
just remember waking up in the ambulance.
But but
So
but Frederick touches on, I think, what is the main thing, because I mean you would assume we would have heard about anything, any issues or lingering issues, or maybe would have seen that in Bremer's play that we've seen in the preseason. I like the fact that we're bringing him back slowly, but it seems like the care, J Medical is taking care of him, and he's going to be kind of ready to go, which will be great. I think the one thing that you can never discount about injuries like this is the mentality side. I mean, Frederic mentioned it for a little bit, but you cannot underappreciate the mental toll that the injury had, from his confidence in playing the game to his trust of his own body. And if there's ever this lingering doubt when he needs to go on a sprint to track back and get a ball, who's a dribbler who's beaten Kelly, and he's got this doubt that
I
he's
like how
gonna.
you assume he was already beaten.
Well, if it was more
Well,
likely to happen on that side than the other one.
yeah.
Let's be real. Um, but if he's got this lingering doubt in the back of his mind when he needs to sprint back, get that what if I destroy my knee again? Which is a very human reaction, though. That on the footballing side hurts us. And that's something that you can never really account for until push comes to shove. And so that's the one thing that I would say, from a person's personal standpoint, I hope it's not a problem, but that could be the only thing holding him back. From
Isn't
I
that
have
what they
a
said? Isn't that what they said about Chiesa? When he came back, he was just extra cautious. The moves that he would usually make were
And you
just
can
not
see it
there.
too. Yeah, you could see it.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, when I tore my ACL, the same type of thing. Like, you meant like I felt fine going back, but like there was like I make a cut on the field, and you're kind of second guessing yourself. Your
Mm.
brain's like kind of cautioning your leg not to, be careful. So you kind of don't do it as good as you used to. It
Mm.
makes a
You're like a
makes an
half a
impact.
second slower.
yeah,
Interesting.
and
And
there's
also, I was going to say this brings up one of the questions about Juventus for us coming in first that I forgot to talk about was actually J Medical, it being very important, very crucial, and
Hey,
trying to
they're preparing for the season, man. There's like,
they better.
I'd,
J
I'd like
Medical is going to be my most improved player this year. J
It
I'd
has
Medical.
to
like
be.
to
We have to do better than J Medical.
I have to speak about J Medical at this point now. This is something that I wanted to bring up because I was not the biggest fan of J Medical, as you guys would know. But I reported, like, I think after 4 or 5 months that Bremer was injured, that he had a bit of an issue with inflammation and whatnot. I think I said it on the pod too. And the interesting thing is, when it got better, and it soon got better, it didn't, because of the people at J Medical that were very, very cautious and very helpful in that way. But Bremer was had a bit of a mental block, and our team psychologist or somebody from the outside scheduled some sessions with him to talk about that, after consulting with J Medical, and I think that helped him a lot as well, and recuperating from this terrible injury. So that's something that I can only applaud, because not only did they address the medical issue, or fairly the just the side of the physical issues, but they also saw that it was messing with the mentality of Bremer or the fears or whatever, and they decided to intervene there too. So I think that's, hats off to them for seeing that.
You guys mind if I dedicate a round of applause for the upcoming season for J Medical? Hopefully hopefully they stay.
I mean, they're
I don't
keeping
stay
Milik
busy.
alive, which is a full-time
He
job.
is on life support right now currently. Rav, any thoughts while we were discussing? Did anything pop up in your head that you want to share with us?
I mean, it's been such a long time since I've been on, but the thought that still sort of goes through my head when Zach mentioned about last season. This might be controversial, but I'm still not. I'm not 100% convinced that getting rid of Motta and Giuntoli was the right decision. And I know, again, like I said, I know that's controversial. I haven't fully followed it through in my head in terms of like a trail of thought, but what Zach was saying about how close we were to sort of being in the title race, and Bremer being back, that's a defender who, I think I've said this before, each season he guarantees you at least 15 points. Like the mistakes that you would make at the end of games, he's that sort of extra protective layer. And the amount of games last season that we dropped points right at the very end of games, and having him there would have been just that extra sort of level of, no, we're not going to let this result go. So in my head, I sort of think, we could have been closer to fighting for the title last season, and one injury basically undid Motta's sort of tenure at Juve. And yes, okay, there was stuff behind the scenes, and I don't know how much to sort of buy into that. I'm still kind of the mindset that some of his players might have thrown him under the bus. We had a very young team. I don't know if they were all kind of pulling in the right direction. So that's my controversial take for this podcast. I don't know if everyone agrees with me or not.
I have two questions, Rav. I have two questions.
Sure.
The first question is, and we answered this on the podcast, but I'm curious, you weren't on that episode. So the question is if Bremer was never injured, is Motta still the coach?
I get the sense that we fight Napoli for the title. I get the sense that maybe he might be. I think that injury is enough, because if we're fighting for the Scudetto, maybe the team and the atmosphere in the dressing room is completely different. Maybe these players that apparently he couldn't get on board are kind of pulling in the same direction more. Maybe he has a stronger relationship. Maybe he kind of pulls the dressing room together instead of this one injury is kind of the thread.
It also didn't help that the injury was like first thing in the season. The timing was awful.
Well, but exactly. Hold on. I mean, I think we're touching on something. I think most of us, Frederic is, I think, the only one, maybe, Rav, who says that Motta would still be the coach if Bremer didn't get injured. I think, Frederic, you were the only one who said no. But he did get injured. And it leads me to my second question, Rav, is can a coach recover a lost dressing room?
I think an experienced coach can. I think a coach that is maybe further along in his career, maybe someone like Conte,
I guess then let's say with a coach of Motta's experience, where we were in the season, what was on stake? Do they regain the locker room? And I think the answer to that one is probably no, or maybe unequivocally no. Yeah. So whether it should or shouldn't, I mean, if you lose the locker room, whether it was fair or unfair, I think that writes itself.
I actually have audio. Sorry, go ahead.
I would just add that I think timing is important, right? If you lose Champions League final or end of the season by a few points, and that's when your locker room starts to fall apart before the season ends, I think maybe an experienced coach has a chance in a new season. But with how early the wheels started to come off for Motta, I don't know that he would have had the opportunity.
There are literally so many. Like I think I could write a book about the things that went wrong behind the scenes with Mota and Juntoli. It was not sustainable in any
Give
way,
us the
shape, or
top reasons.
well, one of the top reasons. I'll give you Douglas Lewis. I'll give you Douglas
Very
Lewis.
very topical.
Before we purchased him, there was a discussion between Juntoli, Mota, and other people within staff. And Mota said, yes, this is a player that the idea was to switch him and Cope during the season. So they were basically alternates of each other. Because in Mota's mind, it was Loka with Cope or Douglas Lewis. And maybe if we play with a midfield of three, we could alternate. But it was always Coop or Douglas Lewis in his mind. But of course, the Coop minor saga went on. We didn't purchase. Atlanta didn't want to sell. You know, whatever happened, happened. And afterwards, when Douglas Lewis was purchased, I think it was 3 or 4 training days in that Mota had a meeting with Juntoli and said, well, what the fuck? This is not a player I can rely on. He's not, get me Coop miners. And then Juntoli said, but hey, we already blew half our budget on this player, that player. No, I need Coop miners. If not, it'll not work. I cannot guarantee our Champions League position for next season. Yada, 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 yeah. To that extent, Juntoli called up Alcon, explained the situation. Alcon was not happy, but they went on and tried to get Coop miners. They paid a lot of money for Coop miners, too much money, in my opinion. And after, I think, 3 games in, another meeting occurred, and Mota said, well, I have a shit midfield. I can't work with these players. I mean,
I have a shit midfield. Let's sell Fajoli. Okay,
I mean,
sorry.
yeah, I mean, you know, like it was like he was sabotaging it, like on purpose. There wasn't anything that he'd said that actually made sense. And this is where Tudor comes in now. Tudor sticks to his guns. He knows that it's gonna be a tough mercado. He knows that we don't financially have the means to buy Rodri, Haaland, whoever. So he says, okay, we'll see. I'll just try my best, but first I need to work on the mentality. That's the first thing. And give me time and space, and I'll do that. So there's more of a, let me say, Mota was a bit passive aggressive in that sense. And this, you know, the players start feeling that too. There were
Mhm.
that tried to involve Mota in their personal well-being, or if there was something wrong or whatever, or position-wise, but he just wouldn't take it. Like there was no back and forth communication. There were moments when Coop Miners himself said, "Look, this position is not for me. I don't know how to play in this position. I don't feel comfortable." And he got benched. The same with Thuram. Remember that 4 or 5 game streak when Thuram was on the bench? That was just because of a tactical argument or an emotion that Thuram
Hmm.
had, which he explained decently to Mota, and in return he got benched. That's how you lose the dressing room, and that was like, I don't know, what was it, February, March? I mean,
I got one more reason for you. His benching of Yildiz. I mean that you don't even talk about locker room.
Blasphemy.
But, I mean, but it's like, look, I actually was doing in anticipation of talking about like MVP of the season or who we had picked. I did a real deep dive into Yildiz, and so I was like looking at the last 20 games, and that reminded me. I totally had put it out of my memory about all those games where Yildiz was not only either benched or subbed at half for no reason.
Mhm.
And it just brought back all those negative vibes of, you know, and for, I was a Mota defender until almost the last day, right? That's what it was. I own that, but that was baffling. That was baffling. Sorry.
I actually have audio of the locker room when Mota got fired. That's interviews from the
Get the
players.
fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. I want to get the fuck out of here. Come on, let's get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exclusive look. Frederick, you brought up Douglas Luiz. What do you say we do 5-6 minutes on the latest transfers? Let me just bring this to attention. So for now, the list of players that are out. So here we go. From this season, Mbangula, which was I was really sad to see. Alberto Costa, Wea on loan, and Douglas Luiz. Obviously, players that are coming in. For now, João Mario Conceição was purchased outright. Jonathan David, which I'm super excited about. That's it for now. Pretty thin as far as transfers. So Douglas Luiz, I will bring up an article later to kind of break down how much that really cost us. But Frederick, if you don't mind, I'll play your intro and let's get into it, shall we? And I need to find it first. Yes, here we go.
And now, Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
Give us the tea, buddy.
There's not much tea to bring at this point.
That's cool. That's cool. Just bring us up to.
Negotiations with PSG have entered a difficult stage because PSG are firm on 65 million. They kind of jerked us around a bit. They were cool with 55 like a week ago and diluted payments and partial loan or whatever. And now they're beginning to raise their price, and I think it's because we sold Douglas Luiz. It's my opinion. They do know that Colomani wants to leave and only wants Juventus. But as PSG is not the kind of team that needs money fairly soon, they have leverage over us. Let me put it like this. So it's exciting to see what happens. I know Comoli is in constant contact with PSG. It's certainly not over and done with, but it's getting more difficult by the day. As for Zigrova, the president of Lille said today, and I have to be quite frank because I heard all these negative reactions already. Zigrova's not coming, and also towards Pepe, our good friend, some hate, which I don't like, because in the Mercado everything can change from just about 1 minute to the other. So shout out to Beppe for his scoop with Zigrova at the time. But that's still not blown out of the water, even though that the president of Lille stated that Eden is a Lille player at this point. So he didn't say that he's not leaving or whatever people make it out to be. He just made it very clear that Lille has not received an official offer yet, which is true. Juventus have an agreement with Zigrova. If he doesn't get his transfer finalized within this window, I think we will probably sign him on a free in January. That's in place. So, but of course, it all depends on what Lille's asking, and Juventus aren't willing to spend that much this transfer market.
If I can just add, a lot of people are there's comments online saying we need the competition, or people are saying it depends on which position he'll play. So it's right now, I mean, Zach, and you guys can tell me more about it, but the formation matters a lot as well, and what Tudor settles on and what kind of players he needs.
Well, the formation real quickly is with Tudor's always set. It's a 3-4-2-1. So the question is specifically, is Zagrova going to take up that right wing back position, play almost like a winger, attacking winger, like he did against us in the Champions League, where he just destroyed Cabal for 90 straight minutes? Or is he going to get skewed up into one of those 2-10 positions where Tudor likes them to play a little bit more centrally? So you might see him on the left-sided 10 position, kind of where Yildiz plays, playing inverted, which, in my opinion, would be less impactful. But I'll turn it over to Frederic if he has any insight on the positional side of it. But it's either one of those two.
It is either one of those two, and that's also the main thing is as to why we are interested in Zagrova, because he can fulfill two spots. Like, as you said, on the left or the number 10 position, he loses a bit of his panache, if I may put it like that. But you have a decent quality sub for Kenan. Should he get tired? Should we have too many games? And on the other hand, the right wing back position, which is a bit, his right flank is his natural position. I mean, he can alternate with Chico, which is very valuable to us because Chico has been known to be a bit injury prone and prone to fatigue and whatnot. So, if we look at the price and the scoops that we could give him, I mean, we're talking about a 13 to 15 million euro investment with a salary, I think, just 2 million net. So I mean, it's a bargain in that respect because you have a player who can play both positions, fairly young, a lot of talent, not a high salary, not a big transfer fee. So I expect something to come out of it regardless. And I think the president of Lille was just putting on a bit of pressure. Um, so let's see if Juventus pull out, make an official offer. And I do feel that we desperately need a striker. We need a trequartista, like a Kenan replacement or fill in or stand in or double or whatever you want, and somebody on the right. I think these three positions need to be filled in. Will they be filled in? I don't know. On the other hand, I have some good news future-wise. I spoke today. I had a very long call with somebody who's an accountant, but he mainly deals with football clubs accounting-wise and contract-wise. And he told me that the reason he thinks that Juventus is very tight on the money is because next year a lot of players will be released contractually, which means that a lot of money will be made free in terms of salary caps and what have you. So he said that if we have 0 euros now this season, I mean, this is hypothetical and in relation to each other, we should have 250 million next season.
Wow.
How
Well,
big that explains our pretty, let's say, evasive maneuvers that we're pulling at this point.
very interesting. I wanted to dedicate a few minutes to the transfer and the disaster that was Douglas Luiz, if you guys don't mind. So I have this article pulled up here. How much we really lost by sending him to Nottingham Forest. There's it's a big article, a lot of numbers here. So the sale to Nottingham Forest on Thursday was a loan with 3 million with obligation to buy if certain conditions are met. For a further 25 million plus up to 3.5 on add-ons. So basically, at the end of the article, they say that even if with all the bonuses he gets purchased and he loves it and he moves, we still lose money because there's no way. It's a pretty difficult contractual, talk here. If the sale is completed in June 2026, the Brazilians will be registered as a loss of 4.2 million on the 2025-26 balance sheet. Even with all the performance-related bonuses of 3.5 million euros are eventually paid, and that is by no means a guarantee, it still won't wipe out the total negative impact he had on the Juventus coffer. So it was just like insanely bad financial deal, sadly.
I don't know if the article mentions because it's 31 and a half that we get for him if he signs in total.
Interesting.
Like,
Well,
it's 3.5 in bonuses.
It really bothers me when an article on the page, it's footballitalia.net. There's 3 gigantic photos of Douglas Luiz and just maybe 6 lines of text, and you have to keep going back and forth. People just put one little photo, we know what he looks like. Speaking of websites, Rav, when are you back with juvenews.net?
Juve, I've forgotten the website. Juve News Live. I just haven't had time. I've been so busy since March. with
Gotcha,
work and
gotcha.
sort of
Well-
other commitments. But once the new season starts, is when I will, as the kids say, I will lock in. And
You lock in. What about you locking in with our podcast? You know, people miss you. I've been promising that you'll be more regular with your regular appearances on our podcast. We can rely on you, right?
listen, if I can get this mic to work properly and improve the sound quality, I'm in for
I
as
love it.
often as you guys can have me. So
Otherwise, you'll be the motto of our group, man. We will rally against you.
that's
Don't
fine. I don't mind.
don't let us turn on you and you lose the locker room.
It's all right. It's all good.
Excellent. Well, those are the if there's anything you guys are excited about as far as transfer possibilities. Let's Frederick, I know you're nodding your head, but I want to give the boys a little opportunity to talk about transfers as well. Maybe something they heard that they're interested in. Jack, Zach, Damiano, anything? Rav?
One quick thing. We currently have 9 center backs on our roster, and maybe 1.5 or maybe 2.5 are good. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on what happens with all those.
Who's the
guys.
half?
Kelly. Gotti. No, Gotti.
Why are you coming?
Gotti goes beast mode and he's amazing, and then sometimes Gotti loses his head. So, he's my half. Then we got Kalulu Bremer, and then you have just a slew of other people. And so obviously some of those need to go on loan or be sold. But without monopolizing the air, that's kind of what I wanted.
You know what? Let me get.
I'll take Farhad's question and pull on your defender.
Jack, let's go.
Zach, and I'll say I'm most excited about Kelly leaving to Crystal Palace if that's actually happening.
Frederic's making a face.
I'm
I think my
hoping-
face
sorry.
says enough. I'm sorry, Rob. No,
No, that's fine.
I don't think Kelly's gonna be leaving. What I do know is Besiktas are in current talks with Jallo, which we won't utilize. I mean, I don't think we'd even use him as a kit man or whatever. So, but we're being offered 4.5 million euros. And Kamoli said, fine, ship him off. So we're waiting for him to reach personal terms with Besiktas. Then we can salute Jallo as well. So that's one center back out the window and a bit of money on the floor that we found. But I don't think Kelly's leaving. If Kelly were to leave, it had to be for a very good, solid offer for Juventus and also for him. I think if Kelly would leave, it would be the likes of a team like, I don't know, Arsenal, Liverpool, what have you. Some top team in the UK or sub-top team, but not certainly Crystal Palace or I've heard talks with
Everton.
Leicester City or Everton or whatever. He's not going to leave Juventus for that. No.
I got Spitfire questions, if I may, Farhad. Okay.
Yeah,
Jack,
floor's yours, my
Jack,
friend.
I'm gonna hit you up just at random. Okay. The question is who earns more money? Okay, and the wages. Jallo or McKennie?
It's a trick question. Don't fall for it.
Wants me to say McKennie, but I'd say Jallo because I think
Who earns more money? Jallo or
Jallo.
Kostic? Kostic.
Oh, Kostic?
No. Who earns more money, Jallo or Kalulu?
Jallo.
Who earns more money, Jallo or Yildiz?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's why he needs a new contract. Jallo then.
Yeah, so the most confused. Yeah, Frederick was so mad. If you're watching on video, Frederick is so mad he left the room because that was such a confusing piece of business to gazump enter with getting this guy who he had no intention of ever playing. So I think him leaving would be appropriate. He's a surprisingly large amount of our wage bill for a guy who we were never going to play. So I think that
was a great
time,
move. Great financial move.
He maybe.
By the way, going back to the Douglas Luiz disaster, as we may now call it. What I was more upset about that we lost Barrenechea and we lost Ealing Jr. because of that, and I thought those two had a pretty good future.
I think it's an institutional failure. I don't want to call it the Douglas Luiz failure because I don't want to put it unnecessarily on him.
But institutional failure doesn't sound like a punk band. Douglas Luiz disaster sounds like a punk band. Come on.
But that I don't care about making a punk bag, and I want to be fair to the player. He's a human being. Giuntoli and Malta brought in a player they fundamentally didn't understand. They or J Medical or collectively totally and completely botched his recovery for an injury. He hasn't had much because he doesn't have an injury history, or at least a material one. And they didn't help a player from a team standpoint settle into the position, the role, the tactics of what he'd play. He got absolutely butchered by the fans because when they finally saw him, he gave away two unfortunate penalties. Did not show him the grace that we showed Delict, who gave away way more penalties when he first joined. And then it had a snowballing effect. And so I kind of feel sorry for him. I think the potential that he could have brought our team was clear. Now, obviously, he never showed it. And now that he's gone, it's like you can't lose what you didn't have. But at the same time, calling him out when I think our front office, our medical team, and our coaching staff did their fair share to fail him as much as he might have failed the team, if not more.
I mean, and can we also talk about?
So I was just going to quickly say, I can't wait for him to start playing at Nottingham Forest. And he gives his first interview. He's going to talk so much shit about you.
No, it's coming. It's coming.
He's the kind of guy that just doesn't hold back. He seems
there's an obligatory interview from every Juve player that leaves disgruntled that they have to just cover us with crap.
No, he's entitled to, and he's going to do well at Nottingham Forest. Just literally, I'm not going to make any bold predictions, but he will do really well there. I guarantee.
The question, though, Rob, is when he gives that interview where he's like, "The Juventus was terrible for me." Would he be justified in saying that?
Yes, and
he absolutely would be.
And he'll name Motta as well. He won't hold back.
I mean, if we zoom out, we still have Arthur, a player that's been with us for 5 years. That is costing us a whole lot of money for 5 years. We brought him in for what was it, like 80 million?
Mm-hmm.
If you compare it, because it was a trade and add-ons and things and that. But 80 million, we bought our good friend Turin, who is not performing as we hoped he would, for 60 million. We bought Vlahovic. We bought Dusan Vlahovic. I will repeat this again. Maybe let it sink in. Thank you, Dusan. We bought Dusan Vlahovic for 90 million euros. The guy starts on Sunday officially making 12 million a year. So we have all people either being disgruntled, not giving a chance, having to sod off, or staying as the leeches that they are, and sponging off of Juventus due to insane contracts that somebody, after 2 bottles of grappa, thought it would be a good idea.
I'm glad. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm glad you brought up Vlahovic. He's been doing decent during the preseason. If he stays, he scored a couple of goals. He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's not scoring. He's scoring. So let's give the guy a little credit.
Okay.
Scoring is not what you said. You said he's been playing well. Those are two different things.
He's a dreadful player. I'm sorry. I'm still hoping that within the next couple of days, Alexander Isak goes to Liverpool. Newcastle is super desperate, and they're like, "Look, we'll give you 20 million or 25 million for Vlahovic, and just let him go." I'm not. This might be controversial. I would never boo the guy because yes, okay, he is leeching off the club and etc. But I don't think we should ever boo our own players because we were stupid. This is not on him. This is us making a dreadful decision to try and convince him so that Arsenal don't sign him. I don't know how that managed to get greenlit in terms of the salary and the transfer fee, but please, God, just Alexander Isak to Liverpool, and they get desperate, and there's no other strikers. They're like, yeah, you know what, we'll go for Vlahovic, please.
I have another rapid fire question. This time to Damiano. When Frederic brought up the Artur deal, I just had to double check. Damiano,
let's go. I love this.
When was the last time Pjanic, who obviously we exchanged for Artur, when was the last time Pjanic played for Barcelona?
Played for Barcelona. What didn't he get? I would say 2019.
That was 21. So 4 years ago. I mean, then he
Oh.
was loaned out. He was loaned out. The next
Is he still
year.
playing? Is he still
I know
active?
he went to like somewhere in
Russia.
Turkey, didn't he?
Yeah. So he went from Barcelona to Turkey, but we still have Artur on our books when the last time he played for Barcelona was 2021, and he's technically on their books in 22, but he played in Turkey on loan, so they take a portion, if not all, of his contract. So it's just the fact that Artur's still in our books. It's
Great
just
financial
absurd.
decisions all around.
So you have that deal. You have the Dusan deal, and then you have Farhad, who wants Andrea Agnelli back. These deals happened under his leadership. So there you go.
Another kicker, if I might add, because we talk about Dusan's 12 million a year, and people say, if we sell him, even if we don't get any money, at least we don't have to pay 12 million. No, our deal is that he gets 8 million in salary, and the remaining 4 million is a bonus, which we are obliged to give him, even if he goes to Milan, he goes to Arsenal, he goes to Newcastle, he goes to Siberia.
God, please, no!
If we
You're sending him to the
10
gulag?
million,
What
I mean, I don't care where we send him anymore. But if we get 10 million, which is for me like heaven's gates opening up, I can't see it happening. But should that miracle occur that we get 10 million for his definitive transfer, we have to take 4 million of the 10 million to give it to him.
How is it only 10 million? Like,
Rob,
call me. I don't understand
Goodwill,
how it's only
donate the guy
10
to
million.
Goodwill at this point. Like,
Farhad, have
Oh
you
my
seen
God.
the guy play? Have you seen him?
Farhad says he
stop
plays well.
the ball?
Farhad
Have
says
you
he plays
seen him?
well, Frederic.
I-
He wants him to start
was-
on a Sunday.
You
He
see,
was
you see
warming
how
up-
Zach is twisting my words.
I'm very sorry for it, but I saw him warming up on the sidelines in Dortmund, and I saw all these players because Tudor basically rotated the whole squad in the 60th or 65th minute. Like Gatti was doing his sprints. You saw other players like really, switching gear and then you had Dusan and he was I'm not making this up. If people have video evidence of this, please forward it to us at our official Instagram. He was walking with his hands tucked in his shorts. Like
That's
we
the
had-
equivalent of
like-
the equivalent of the video of Higuain yawning after we lost to Real Madrid in the final. Have you guys seen that?
Just imagine somebody you're having a conversation with somebody about something very important, which is his livelihood, and he's just walking with you with his hands in his pockets, not giving a fuck. The man didn't even have pockets. He chose to put his hands down his football shorts and was literally walking past like pawns and cones and shit like that. I mean, for the love of God, you don't expect any team to. Oh, I just can't anymore.
All right,
Somebody just
so
buy him.
10 million for Frederic is okay. It's not low bowling at all.
Five and a salary, and then we're throwing like a
man.
box of whatever, and we're good. I mean,
I have a feeling the episodes of the Scoop with Zach and Frederic will be lit last 10 days of the Mercato. That's gonna be fun, boys. Let's talk about Parma a little bit. Obviously, there's. I know Zach has prepared something for us, but what's there to talk about? They finished 5 points again above relegation zone last year. Conceded a whole lot.
5 points from last, not from the relegation zone.
Oh,
5
from
points
last.
So 2 spots from the relegation zone.
Oh man! So
And 16th at 36 points with a defense that bled goals to everybody but us. Farhad, people may not remember, but we did not beat Parma last year.
We did not.
We drew in the first game, and then many of y'all probably remember the game in April, a must-win game that we lost 1-0. Parma was extremely scrappy against the top 6 teams, or the top. I don't remember exactly, but the top teams in Serie. They were very scrappy and hard to beat. Sucked against the lower teams, and they've made some changes. They brought in an Arsenal assistant coach to lead their team. They were very impressive in their Serie, in their Copa, debut a couple days ago against Pescara. And
2-0.
but they did lose a lot of key players in the market. So, and what do my notes have? They got Somme, Leone, Boni, Dennis Mann. You're talking about those are starters for on average 31 of their 37 games. So that's a meaningful part of their team. They're going to be led. The front line's going to be led by Matteo Pellegrino, the guy who scored the goal against us and had the brace against Pescara. And as always, with this Parma team, Emanuele Valeri on the left sort of wing back position is sort of their where a lot of their attacking goes to. Game obviously we should win, but a game we cannot take for granted.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, they do have the youngest coach in Serie. If not history, I think this season for sure. 30 years old, trying to bring back Parma from the depths of the table. That's a daunting task. I don't know, man. They may see a relegation zone once again next year, losing players and being led by a 30-year-old. And yeah, just obviously Juventus Parma opening game is always special for Juve fans. If you guys remember 2011, 2012 season, I still remember where I watched that game, where I was, the opening 3-1 at the either 3-1, 3-0 at the brand new then Juventus Stadium. And then we went on to have an unbeaten season, which was a good game. You guys remember that daytime game right after the presentation of the new stadium? The grass was patchy. We didn't know what to expect, but Conte started strong. That will always be a special game to me. Marquisio, beautiful leap over the keeper. Lichtsteiner scoring the first goal at the new stadium. Good times. Hopefully this is the beginning of a new era as well, right? Who knows? But not much we can
just to add on to what Zach said, I think
please do.
touched on some really good points. I think the losses for Parma are going to be more critical than any signing that they could make or the Arsenal assistant coach coming in, right? Leone is a huge loss. I think it's Cerchiati is going to be back there for him, not the same level of player. And Boni going to Inter was a huge loss, right? I think he had 8-9 goals last year for them, which was a big deal. And those
let him in goals, second in assists. So they played through him big time.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, it'll be tough because just Leone on his own. Man, did I want that guy at Juve, but it wasn't meant to be. I don't know. Italians at Liverpool, it's a connection that I'm noticing. Shout outs to Chiesa scoring a winning goal. That was, I think, it warmed everyone's heart. If you're a Juve fan, you were happy for him.
Couldn't care less. Fuck him.
What? Oh no!
I like it.
Fucking Frederick.
I mean, I'm not gonna be all look happy. No, fuck him. I mean, fuck him. Straight.
Right.
If he scores, doesn't score, I don't care. Fuck him.
Sounds good. Boys, what do you say we finish this episode with a little discussion that I brought to Instagram the other day? What are the most overrated Juventus players in history? Obviously, fans on Instagram being younger people, there's replies from players from 10 years ago at least. That's the most. What do you guys say? I read the comments, or do you guys want to present your own and then we'll kind of go through the comments? Whatever you guys choose.
Is there? I mean, I think we do ours, but is there like an overarching favorite amongst the comments? Is there one player that everyone said more than anyone else?
Do you want me to go by the likes, maybe by the like count? Just first of all, I know Zach had feelings about what an overrated player really means, because there's a lot of answers here that make no goddamn sense to me.
Yeah,
Szczesny. How is Szczesny overrated? He kept us going. He carried us a lot of the times with the penalties and the world-class saves.
Using the term overrated is great for social media because people will interpret it differently, and it leads to discussion. And when somebody will put Mandzukic as most overrated player, and then you have a whole slew of people who are just like, "You crazy person," and then so on and so forth. I think and I'm curious to see what the Instagram sort of consensus was. But if somebody to be overrated, they have to be rated. Okay,
Yeah.
really high. First
Thank
and
you.
foremost. Okay,
Thank you. You
people,
can't.
people saying Dusan. Dusan
You
is
can't
not
put
rated.
flops. You can't put flops on there. They were flops for a reason.
Maybe he was overrated when we signed him, but now it's hard to be overrated when nobody rates you. So you have to be rated. And it all is relative to the expectations against you. If you have no expectations, you can't be overrated because you can't underperform your expectations.
Delete. Sorry, I'm just going to jump straight in and say delete. Overrated.
And I'm glad you brought it because he was one of the two names that popped to my head, to my mind. Rav he's absolutely, and I know Farhad's going to be mad because he calls him his son. Well, actually, Rob, why don't you give us your reasoning?
First of all, De Ligt is no longer my son since he signed with Manchester United. Chico is now my adopted child.
Apologies.
So, yeah, that is my son.
Apologies.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rav, the most player with the most likes was De Ligt. People, the replies are, he wasn't rated good here. I think he was. He was paid whatever we paid, close to 80 mil or something for him. I'm sure he was rated. He's the most overrated defender I've ever seen. Somebody else replies. We'll go with something that we can kind of agree. I mean, McKennie, you can say McKennie. Somebody replied, "Come on, dude," and they got the more likes. If you guys want the guy's explanation, if we're doing this segment, we might as well give him a little bit of, because he did come up with an explanation. For me, it is what it is. First of all, great start. We are conforming with him in position that historically is for players like Vidal, Matuidi, Edgar Davids, Vieira, Takinardi, Marquisio, top players. Now him is just okay because the team is no better. But since Thuram arrived, you can see the difference. Anybody agree?
I think that fundamentally misunderstands what overrated means. What he's saying is that McKennie's not very good. That is not a product of whether he's over or underrated. I would say McKennie is grossly underrated by Juventus fans, but that doesn't mean he's a great player. He's not Vidal. He's not Marquisio, and so on. So I think that gets to my complaint about this, is that people don't understand or don't contextualize what overrated means.
I think the most replies, not in terms of likes, but the most replies, Vlahovic was like 50% of the replies, and there was like almost 200 people replying, and also DMs. But the one that I wanted to bring up, and it's a shame Kevin is not here. He just texted us saying hello. Shout outs to Kevin. He's sipping a Negroni somewhere in an airport because he will be there for the first game of the season. Please follow us on Instagram at Turin Giants so we can bring you live updates. And he does a pretty cool presentation. And every time Kevin goes to the stadium, one of the reels goes viral. Like, speaking of Vlahovic, his free kick goal, he does pretty cool things online. So follow us on Instagram. Rabiot. Let's kind of isolate. We talked about a few players here. Somebody put Cristiano Ronaldo like a bunch of times. Tevez, which was so stupid. But Rabiot, why are you pointing to yourself, Zach?
Ronaldo, I put him and De Ligt are the two most overrated players of recent Juventus memory, in my opinion. So I'm all aboard the Ronaldo overrated train. But you can do Rabiot if you'd like.
No, well, let's talk about great band name, by the way, Ronaldo overhyped train. Tell me why Ronaldo. Is it the stat padding? Is this
No. Ronaldo was a fantastic player for us. That does not mutually exclusive.
But
overrated.
The what's the word? And the fanfare of his arrival. Are you saying it overshadowed his team accomplishments?
No, he was brought in for one reason. At least that's what they told us, to win the Champions League. It was not for Instagram likes and Twitter, retweets and jersey sales, and we knew all that was going to happen, right? It's super cool for me sitting in Houston, Texas, to go to a local football game, or I should say soccer game here, to go to BBVA Compass Stadium, which is the Houston Dynamo soccer stadium here in Houston, and see a bunch of young kids wearing Ronaldo jerseys. That's awesome. Like that, Ronaldo Juventus jerseys. That's great. But he came in. The expectation was he was going to elevate a team nearing the end of its cycle, and we would win the Champions League. And he scored a lot of goals, and he had that amazing comeback against Atletico Madrid in the round of 16, or maybe the round before the round of 16. But we got nowhere close to meeting the sporting goals of why we over-leveraged our team financially to bring him in. And if you're judging somebody who is rated, he performed at the highest level for our team, but he did not come close to meeting the expectations. And maybe they were unfair expectations. Maybe this Juventus was never going to win the Champions League with him. But that's why he was brought in, and that was unequivocally a failure. And that's why he's overrated in my book.
I have something, you know, to
You have
put
Ronaldo
some,
thoughts?
no, not Ronaldo thoughts. I have something controversial. For me personally, it's
No. Higuain.
It's who?
Higuain.
Oh. Why?
How so?
Yeah, but you have to tell us why. You can't just say it's Higuain and then leave.
It was no, I was waiting for the mic to drop. No, I think he was brought in for a lot of money. Like, we invested everything we got out of the Pogba deal for him. And at that point, when that happened, I was a bit skeptical because he was a player that was already, if I'm not mistaken, 26 or 27 already. We knew what he could do. But if I just look at, you know, my personal feelings of seeing him 3 seasons in our jersey, and I have to compare it with the stats, then I think it wasn't that wild of a guess, because in his first season, 2016-17, I think he scored 23 or 24 goals. I'm not sure. The season after that, he scored 16, and his last season, 2019 and 20, he just scored 8 goals. So he scored a total of 48 goals. We paid 90 plus million for him. And the thing that bothers me most is the games where it did count, Europe wise. I'm not talking about his goal against Inter, because that was legendary. But against the bigger sides, he was nowhere to be seen. So for me, if you lose a pawn that was Pogba, which for me was the backbone of our team at that point, you invest all that money to get a prolific striker in, who's played at Real Madrid, who's played at Napoli, who's proven his worth, but in 3 seasons only scores 48 goals and is in a constant decline. For me, that means that he's overrated, because if you knew this, it's easy in hindsight, but if you knew these stats or his decline prior to purchasing him, nobody, or we wouldn't have forked out that amount to get him in.
It's not a bad shout, because when you think about it, in Europe, he was never a huge threat. Yeah, there was a goal against the famous goal against Monaco and all that, but he didn't bring us to Champions League. He did score some great goals against some big opponents. I remember he was a giant killer. He would always score against the big teams that he should have scored against, and Napoli and Inter and Milan, great goals too. But yeah, in Europe, it was a little lackluster.
You
known
did
as
kind
a
of
choke,
undersell his age, though. I think he was 29, 30 when he came in. You get a guy, I mean, some strikers like that, they lose their legs quick. 2016, born in, I think he was born in, whatever. Yeah, I think he was 30. 29, 30.
Yeah, he was.
Sorry, go ahead, Damiano.
I was gonna say, well, first off, my favorite Higuain moment was definitely when he came back on the second term after being on loan. That was classic Higuain. But he was just for me, it was a choke. Like, even before we even signed him, like the World Cup against Germany for Argentina, he didn't. Even
I just rewatched that miss the other day.
Yeah,
I actually, it would have changed the course of history, and it was just a complete blunder.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Higuain, but we splashed out a lot of cash for him, so.
Rav, who do you overrate?
I think De Ligt, like I said, is probably. I think he came to us young, and there was this big kind of fanfare because he made it. He'd sort of captained Ajax all the way to the Europa League final, and every club was linked with him. Everyone wanted him. So his stock was just so high that everyone sort of seemed to forget that he was incredibly young and he still had so much to learn. Yes, he was great in that particular Ajax team, but I feel like even after a couple of seasons of him being in Turin, he was good, but he wasn't great. He never really became that sort of defender that we thought was going to take over from Chiellini or I guess from Barzagli, maybe less so from Bonucci. But yeah, I sort of look back at it and I just kind of think, were there any sort of standout moments? There were some goals that he scored against Torino in the derby and sort of things like that. But the hype around him and in terms of that very classic definition of overrated, it just feels like it was that one season at Ajax, and everything after that has just kind of been like, he's been like,
Yeah,
okay,
he's
was
kind of
okay
an
with me.
afterthought by now.
The
Jack,
only other one I was just going to add, and this might be a little bit controversial, but this is going way back, so my memory is a bit hazy. But I was thinking
90s,
Zidane.
yes.
Zidane was
Oh,
very, very good
boo.
for us. But
Boo.
was he like the Champions League finals that we had? Where was he? Like there was again, like I said, I'm
I
going
regret
back
I regret inviting you.
I,
You're a Mota.
we can no longer be friends.
I'm sorry, man. It's just a thought. I'm not saying I'm not committing to
I
it.
love
but
it.
just
I love
No,
it.
no,
We're
no.
here to discuss. We're
way
even
back,
even though
Yes.
you're wrong, we're here to discuss.
Fair enough, man.
No, Zidane, and I think I'm one of the oldest here,
Not even
with
close.
Zach and Jack. But I saw Zidane like literally 4 or 5 times in my life play
Mm.
in front of me, and
So lucky.
I've never seen a player in my life do what he can do. And
Was
I
that
don't
at
like
Juve
it's
though, or was that
at Juve,
like,
at
okay,
Juve,
fair enough.
at Juve. I vividly remember the way he touches the ball, the way when he just hops away from an opponent, how he scans the field for space, and how we every
But
time
I
time
think
after
Rob
time
is.
he plays in a
Don't
said
get
it
me
was
wrong.
gonna
I
be
don't want to. I
controversial.
don't want to defend him, but
no
I
no
think
no
he's
no
talking
no
about his time at Juve, right? Like he became
but
a better player moving on.
he was purchased for literally next to nothing. He came out of Bordeaux. There was even talk of him leaving after he had a sit down with Lippi at that point, and Lippi just said, "You know what? Do what you want. I'm gonna put you in midfield. You can do whatever you want. You want to defend, defend. You want to attack, attack. You want to dribble, dribble. Do whatever the fuck you want. Just leave that weight off your shoulders and do whatever you feel like. I give you the liberty to be free on the pitch." And then you started seeing the real Zidane. And I can agree with Rob in terms of he got better at Real Madrid, but of course he had better people next to him in Real Madrid at that point. He was more mature. He was he'd seen a lot, he'd learned a lot in Italy, and then he was surrounded by world-class players at Real because those were the true Galacticos of that era. And I think it's normal for a player with the ability that Zidane had to excel. But I can tell you, and maybe I'm biased because Zidane for me is like football heaven along with Del Piero, but I saw Messi, I saw Cristiano Ronaldo, I saw the goats of our era, but what Zidane could do and how he did it, yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Don't get
not
me
even of
wrong.
this world. I mean,
I think he was an amazing player, and I have fond memories of him at Juve. But I always look back and I think I'm so grateful that when he left, we got Buffon, Thuram, and Nedved out of the deal, which I think served us so much better. Okay, we didn't win a Champions League,
Rob,
whatever.
can I?
But
Sorry to interrupt, bud, but
No,
you
go for
kind
it,
of
man.
hit on my point. One of my overrated players actually was Van der Sar, the keeper, during that time, who made a couple blunders that cost us the league, that cost us in Champions League, it cost us
Yeah.
like a game against the Greek team. I mean, like there was a couple times, and yeah, we just to me he was one of my overrated players actually that I have on my list. So I was want to touch on that. You brought that
Interesting.
point up.
the thing is with
He
Zidane,
came in and out very quick. So just not to interrupt, but if I remember Van der Sar, I think he was only there for like a couple of seasons. He was in, and then he
Two.
did great things at Manchester United, but we had him out the door quite quickly. So
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
We had
it
him
was
for like 2
just-
seasons.
it was, I think, just bad timing. Like it was with maybe also delayed, but like with Zidane, Zidane was the type of player you purchase a ticket for, even if you're not a Juventus fan, and you see Zidane
Yeah.
playing and you can see him live, you go and you watch. And this is the thing that I'm missing in our last 5 years at Juventus. You have Kenan, you have Yildiz, who was a very good, prolific player, but he has his ups and downs. Whereas Zidane was there every game. Like he could play
Yeah.
against Man United. He made Scholes look like a schoolboy at that time. Like Scholes didn't know what to do to stop Zidane. But he did the same like the weekend after against Cremonese, for instance. Like he
Hmm.
was so consistent. He was so professional,
The
so
older I
good.
get, the more I realize he's just top 5 players ever. Just you never knew what to expect from him. I remember watching the game against Brazil with my dad, and I was young. Like you watch the game, you don't really delve into it too much. You're just there to cheer on the teams. But he gave a 10 out of 10 performance against Brazil, top Brazil. That was the most beautiful thing to see. Remind me of the World Cup. I think it was
2006.
2006. That was.
I think
I
it
will say
was it
that was
2006?
probably
No,
the
that was
best.
98. 2006 was when
No,
Italy.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't 98.
98.
98 was the final, but
that
they
was
played in
the final.
I think they played in the semis against Brazil, and
That
he
was
just
the final in
2006.
2006. You're talking about the Henri goal off of that
Yeah.
was the Zidane free kick that Henri headed in, and they won that game 1-0. Fantastic game.
it was 10 out of 10. That didn't put a foot down wrong. But anyway, I'm glad we got to discuss Zidane. I'm always down to. I literally show my son. He's playing that position in his team, and I was like, this is how I'm setting the standard very low for him. But yeah, good shout.
I show my kids videos of Zidane and Pirlo, and that's my older son.
Absolutely,
And
man. And
a fun
speaking
fact,
of, yes,
Just a-
sir.
sorry, fun fact, there is when Del Piero played at Juventus actively, like when he was in his prime, he would always, and he did it at the national team of Italy as well. After each training session, he would just, get the ball and get pawns in and practice free kicks. And,
Mm.
after a while, a couple of players would follow suit and have a little competition with him. Nobody ever beat Del Piero on free kicks and practice and whatever, apart from Zidane.
So he can do anything. That's amazing. He scored a great free kick against Manchester United. Speaking of, if you guys want to look it up, it's the ball is so close to the goal, and he still is able to dip it past Schmeichel. Just one of the best keepers ever. Just great
We
goal.
watched the semifinal, I think it was Juventus Ajax. Just can't remember the year. But if you see him play that game, like the full game, not just the highlights, just watch the full game. It's
Speaking of highlights and
another random name for you that I had on my list. And
overrated.
I very much like Zach. I think you need to see a gap between the expectation and the performance. And while this gap wasn't necessarily that wide, this is a player I feel like every year we thought we were going to see more out of year after.
Hold
year.
on, let's see if we can guess. How many years did he play?
More modern, not
Chaka.
so post 2012.
How many? Oh, okay. How many seasons was he at Juve?
I want to say 4.
Bernardeschi.
You got him. Good one.
That sounds done,
For
baby.
me, that he was one that way I always thought his ceiling was higher. Watching him last season at Fiorentina, I think he had 11 goals that year.
Well, he did play in Canada. Come on.
No more Fiorentina players, please.
No more Fiorentina.
Yeah, no
We
more.
have a strict anti-Fiorentina policy at Juve. Man, did they screw us so many times? Except Baggio. That was kind of well done. That's one thing I wanted to bring up. Oh, people will hate me because my overrated player is Paulo Dybala. I love Paulo Dybala. A little overrated, as I always call it. The handsome player. The handsome player. He gets a pass because he's good looking. You know what I mean? He could have done a lot more. He did a lot of great things. Don't. It's just my opinion. It may be wrong, but I feel like he should have done more.
I fail to see the correlation between somebody's technical ability as a football player and his looks.
No, I'm
He
actually
gets a pass. He gets
I'm
a
with
pass.
I'm with Farhad on his
Wow.
his handsome. No, not on the Dybala thing. On the handsome player thing, because like we've seen this with Dusan. People a tall, handsome, chiseled jaw, all the stuff that I don't have, full head of hair, right? They get passes. They get passes.
Absolutely.
They're overhyped. And this is absolutely a thing. Now
Absolutely.
whether it's
Thank you.
Dybala, but Farhad, at least on this point, I agree with you.
Thank you.
Fernando
Yeah,
Torres. Does Fernando Torres ring a bell?
He was a great player. How is he overrated?
No, I'm not saying he's overrated, but he wasn't an ugly son of a bitch either, was he?
Well, he had both.
Was-
We're
was-
talking about handsome players who. Tell me this: who's more brought up, and it's not Juve players, but Paolo Maldini or Marco Baresi. Tell me who gets mentioned more and who's more handsome and who was. I believe Maldini was actually obviously a great player. I didn't see much of Baresi, but I know he's one of the goats. Bald guy, looks like your uncle who drinks wine, but he was a fantastic player. So that's just something to think about.
I think if you're handsome or whatever, it helps. How shall I put this?
The marketing.
No, but also like it was Maldini. Maldini was a prototype of an Italian defender. Like he was hard as a nail. He was correct-ish, but he could also play football. But he also had that presence. Like if you'd seen him in a tunnel, he had his hair gelled up or whatever. You thought like that guy's a pussy. But then once he enters,
he's gonna get us kicked out of YouTube.
He goes into beast mode, and you simply cannot get past him. You couldn't. I mean, prime Maldini was impossible. Whereas
his famous quote was, "If I have to do a tackle, I'm too late."
Farhad, what were the expectations? Dybala came from Palermo at what, 21, 2, 3 years old. She's young, right? What were the expectations?
I mean, after we saw what he's capable of, I'm just saying those bursts of the beautiful game that he showed, and then followed by lackluster performances in the Champions League and getting injured, and injuries are a weird thing to mention. But do you think he lived up to his potential?
But I mean,
especially after you got to number 10,
question,
right?
But that's a different. Living up to potential is different than overrated. I mean, you're talking about a guy, Dybala, who is 11th in Juventus history of goals. I mean, he's
done more.
Of course, everyone could do more, but does that make him overrated? I mean, the guy's got about 200 give or take goal contributions in a Juventus jersey, right? Coming over as a kid.
And people have to understand that I pulled for him. I love. I have a couple of his jerseys still hanging in my closet. Like I love him. There's nothing. I'm just saying people remember it through what is it called? Rose tinted glasses or whatever.
Glasses, yeah.
He's just a little overrated. He gave us great.
Way.
All right. Well,
sorry. I just wanted to add he played.
Bro, you said Zidane. Don't come at me. You said Zidane.
All right, I'm good.
I will not take shit from you, buddy.
Farhad, can we have a rapid fire edition of who scored more goals for Juventus? Are you ready?
Yes,
who scored more goals for Juventus? Paulo Dybala or Platini?
Paulo Dybala.
Ronaldo, Inzaghi. Who scored more goals for Juventus? Your overrated Paulo Dybala did.
This joke would be really funny if I remembered which player you mentioned with the salary. Who was that player?
Jallo. Jallo's the right answer. No, it's just like you talk about a guy. I mean, you're in famous territory right there. I mean, he's right behind Baggio in a Juventus jersey of goals scored. I mean,
so nobody agrees with me.
The thing is, the difference. What I'd say is, and I'll leave it to Frederick because he agrees. Ronaldo came in to go, guys. Ronaldo came in to win the Champions League and didn't. Paulo Dybala was supposed to be the next big thing. He wasn't necessarily to reach that level of goals. It was more abstract. And so I guess it's harder in an abstract scenario like Dybala to be the next big thing to say he didn't reach it. When I was saying you're 11th in history of Juventus goals with 200 goal contributions, it's hard to say that you're overrated with that when you have a concrete goal like with Ronaldo that he failed to achieve. That's just
really quickly, just to add that Dybala was played pretty much across the attack in so many different positions. He was moved around to accommodate. When Mandzukic and Gonzalo Higuain arrived, he played all over the place and he still managed to make a contribution. So
And
that's just
also,
my
with
2 cents.
for me, what's very important, I think he didn't reach his full potential due to the fact that he was surrounded by not good people at the time. For his physical, for injury wise, he went out with a lot of people, had some late nights, had some benders, had things like that, didn't take good care of himself, and he had a manager who didn't even have a license, who was negotiating in his name at Juventus, which set a lot of bad blood between Paulo and Juventus, which also had an effect on his performances, which affected everything. So I think it's not because of Dybala. I think it's the people that surrounded Dybala at that time where he should have reached his ceiling, and we would love to have seen that happen
Sounds
in
like
the
a bunch of
Juventus
excuses.
jersey.
Am I right?
But even now, you say that, but like in 2019-2020 season, he was Serie A MVP. I mean, that was like
Of course.
beginning of shit Juventus, right?
Do-
And
are you- are you-
he's
are
still MVP.
Why are you guys ending me? Do you understand the amount of comments I'm about to get? Like I
No, no,
made
no,
a,
no,
I've
no.
made a huge mistake.
I think he didn't live up to his full potential, which is not saying that he's overrated. I think he could have achieved more. He could have done more. He had the talent to do more, but bad timing, bad decisions didn't help
Sure.
him at the time. I'm not saying he's overrated. For me, he's a legendary Juventus player and will always remain in my heart.
I love
But
Dybala.
I agree that he could have maybe done
Okay,
more. Would have not have been for the
this is
injuries.
like
And
jury. This is like I'm like a lawyer. I'm slowly getting people on my side. Frederick is kind of there now, but yeah, I'm gonna deal with the fallout of this. Boys and girls, thank you for joining us for this awesome an hour and 36 minutes. I didn't think we've ever gone that long. That's what she said. Love it. Thanks to the boys for joining us. Zach, Frederick, Rob.
That's what she said himself.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Jack, welcome back, and Damiano. I don't know if I mentioned you. Couple of things to mention before we come back on Monday post Parma. We will be doing a weekly show with Uncle Beppe. We just had a conversation, and that's right, Just Juve and Turin Giants. We will have a little more relaxed conversational show with segments, something like we do here. But Uncle Beppe, Giuseppe asked us to join him. We so appreciate him thinking of us. He said very nice things to us today before the podcast we recorded. So there will be a weekly show with us and Uncle Beppe, rotational squad, whoever's available. That will be super interesting. He wants to. Giuseppe has been doing a show on his own for a long time now. Obviously, if you follow us, you 100% follow him, and he wanted to join a group and see what he can do with more people than just him. So we're really looking forward to that. Talking about Juve for the remainder of the season for the whole season with him. Obviously, not gonna lie, that will be great for us as far as exposure. So we will try to do our best and not let Uncle Beppe down. Anything else? Good luck against Parma. We're really looking forward to Juve being back finally. It's a big season ahead of us. I hope you guys stick with us. Follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/Turin Giants official, at Turin Giants on Instagram. I will try to bring back Twitter. It's not a pleasant platform, but it does get a message across if we're trying to promote something. Boys, thank you so much. This was fun, right? Everybody? We did it. Alessandro Belpiero. I forgot to introduce our guy here. Yeah, let's do it. Let's start the season. I'm glad we got to have this preseason episode. Thank you all for your opinions. Thank you all for joining. As always, stay hydrated. Check on your friends, and Forza Juve.
Purple Finest.
Yeah, siamo finiti in B, gli unici a pagare per calciopoli. Yeah, seguirti. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Un solo grido dalla curva si alzerà. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Per 29 volte campioni d'Italia, per niente e nulla al mondo abbandonerò sta squadra. Tra tutte quante di fissa più stile, storia di un amore senza una fine.